Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another Sessionwire Live. Should probably take this off, make it look a little bit more professional. Yes, today, April 13th, we are going through Digital Performer and Sessionwire together alongside one another. These webinars are basically live demos where I'm just kind of going through Sessionwire's basic functionality and how it can integrate with a different DAW every week. So today is Motu's Digital Performer. Next week, I believe, is Bitwig Studio, a fantastic DAW. I've barely, scraped the surface on that one, but it's very cool, very powerful. Very much looking forward to that. And the weekend after will be Studio One. That one may or may not be pre-recorded, depending on a couple of things. My wife and I are expecting our first child, so we'll see what that week looks like. It could be a little bit hectic. So please tune in for those. These live streams, again, are a chance for you to ask questions and for me to answer live on the stream. So say hello, throw your name in the comments, let me know where you're from. A couple of weeks ago we had somebody drop in on the stream on a train somewhere in Europe. Very cool. So say hello in the chat, ask any questions you may have. If you haven't signed up for your free Sessionwire account, you can go to www.sessionwire.com and download the software and install it right away. Sign up for your free account, and without having to, sign up for any kind of subscription or anything like that, you can immediately place a call with somebody and speak to them through our video stream and our dedicated Talkback stream, which we will touch on in a few minutes here. So, yes, once again, say hello in the comments. I love seeing, people drop in and out. So, moving on, we are going to have a quick look at Sessionwire and some settings in here that will help you get started. So here is my desktop, pardon me, and the Sessionwire app. So on installing the Sessionwire app, you don't have to do anything in terms of changing settings on your computer. You don't have to change any settings in the Sessionwire app itself. The Sessionwire app was designed to default its audio ins and outs to whatever your system ins and outs are, so that you can connect with somebody and begin creating with them right away. So I'm not in an active Sessionwire call right now, so I can see my local video on the left-hand side. I'll just change this to my cam link so you can see my face. I'm going to put my phone on focus mode. This is the Sessionwire app. On the left-hand side is the local video pane, so it's where you'll see your face, and on the right hand side is our connection list. And when we're in an active call, this will become the remote side of the video stream. They'll have a set of meters here as well as our own set of meters on our side of the video screen, so you can kind of see what's happening on both sides of the call in terms of audio streaming. It's really good for troubleshooting. If I hover over my side of the screen here, I see a row of buttons pop up. The first one is a microphone, and that corresponds to our dedicated Talkback stream. It's mono, has noise suppression and echo cancellation on it, just like any other software you're used to, Zoom, Google Meet, that kind of thing. It defaults to your system inputs and outputs for the microphone and speaker. In my case, I have a microphone plugged into channel 1 of my audio interface. So if I select my audio interface as the microphone, I can see my meter moving here. That's because I'm using this microphone plugged into channel 1 of my audio interface. I'm seeing that my signal is pretty low as well. I'm going to try and fix that really quick. Just goose that a little bit. Oh, that shouldn't be linked together. There we go. How about that? That should be a little bit louder. Right, back to the app here. So I can see my Talkback meter moving because I have an audio interface and a microphone plugged into channel 1. If it's plugged into channel 3 or above, you won't see the signal show up in Sessionwire. Sessionwire and Zoom and Google Meet and Skype, they only see channels 1 and 2 of whatever device you select. So plug it into channel 1, you'll see it show up here. Otherwise, you can use, you know, one of these guys, a little, maybe this way is better for the light. Yeah, look at that. Logitech C920 webcam. It's got built-in microphones. It's great. Video quality is fine. You can select that as your microphone. It'll work just fine. I can pick it, and we'll see the meters, you know, bouncing. A little bit less control over the gain of the microphone. It's just kind of like a set it and forget it kind of thing. So keep that in mind. The speaker defaults to the system output, and in my case, again, it's my audio interface. So I've selected my audio interface, which means that if somebody were to speak to me through Sessionwire, I'll be able to hear them right away. I don't have to route Talkback into Digital Performer or any DAW for that matter. So this is how we recommend leaving the Talkback stream of Sessionwire set up. Pick 2 devices, one for the microphone, one for the speaker, that you know will work for passing audio in and out of the software. Cool. So we don't even have to have Digital Performer open to make a call and connect with somebody. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to call Dan Smith. That's my other computer over here. There we go. Now I'm connected with Dan. So if I look on the right side of the app now, we can see Dan's meters. If I have Dan unmute his Talkback, we can see his meters bouncing up and down, which is great. So if his meter's bouncing up and down, and I've got a device selected for a speaker that I know I can hear things from, we'll be able to communicate right out of the box. No need to change any settings. This camera button here, as we saw at the beginning of the call, it was set to my C920, which looks a little bit like this. The video quality is not, it's not bad, you know, 1080p. It's got a built-in microphone. I usually use my Camlink 4K. It's a 4K HDMI capture card that's plugged into a Sony mirrorless camera. So it's a little bit better video quality. Yeah, you can use whatever you want. You can use OBS to do video mixing. You can use a, what's that, Blackmagic ATEM HDMI switcher to switch cameras if you have multiple cameras in your studio, whatever you'd like to do. There's a screen share button that you can use to select a screen or a window from an app to share with whoever's on the other side of the call. And the final button here, this is the HQ audio stream. It's an unprocessed 48 kilohertz equivalent audio stream. Streams at 400 kilobytes per second. It's a really nice, clean, unprocessed audio stream. This is kind of the centerpiece of Sessionwire for now. We have other features coming that are going to blow things, you know, it's going to be unbelievable what you'll be able to do with Sessionwire. But for now, this HQ audio stream is what we're using to pass audio between DAWs. So if I click the drop-down menu, I have selections for an HQ audio source on my machine and an HQ audio destination on my machine. So usually Sessionwire should default like this. It's going to default with the HQ audio source as the Sessionwire send plugin. So you can place the Sessionwire send plugin somewhere in your DAW and it'll automatically stream audio through Sessionwire to whoever's on the other side of the call. And as long as they have their HQ audio destination set appropriately, it defaults to a system output device. like my audio interface, they'll be able to hear the audio and vice versa. So if Dan was to play audio, I'll be able to hear it straight out of my audio interface without having to touch anything. So we'll get Dan to play some audio here. Now, if I have everything set up properly for this stream, again, you should have been able to hear that. Drop in the comments, hey, I was able to hear that. It sounds good. Audio quality is great. Let me know. That is Dan streaming audio to me. I don't need a DAW open to hear what he's streaming to me, and vice versa. If I was streaming audio to him out of my DAW, he wouldn't have to have a DAW open in order to hear what's happening on my machine, simply because this HQ audio destination is set to the audio interface. It's not set to the Sessionwire receive plugin. That's coming later. It's just going straight to my audio interface. Okay? Any questions? Please drop them in the comment section. I see some viewers in here. More than happy to answer questions. Whether or not they're to do with Digital Performer, doesn't matter. Happy to answer questions. Okay, just continuing around the app a little bit here. There's some non-verbal communication buttons, emojis, essentially. If you don't want to ruin the perfect take by, saying something to somebody, you can give them the thumbs up, give them the little star eyes, or you can tell them to stop if you have some notes or something to pass along. A placeholder button here for some features to come. The end call button, pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to skip over this one for now. This little chat button is coming soon. We got a full screen button, picture-in-picture button, which pops out the remote side of the app so you can float it on your screen and minimize the Sessionwire app. It's very cool. And then your settings up at the top right-hand corner for Talkback auto mute, which we'll get to again in a few minutes. Video quality, screen share frames per second, and CPU meters in your toolbar. I think you can see this at the top right-hand corner of my screen. If I turn this on, it'll tell me the percentage of a CPU core that it's using. In my case, it's pretty low. It's a pretty lightweight app, to be honest, as long as you're using a semi-modern computer and you're not bogging it down with tons of plugins or apps or virtual instruments and that kind of thing. You'll be okay. So next button over, the notification bell icon. Here's where all of our call notifications live. I've got a bunch of here. Oh, sorry, Kevin. This is just my demo account. So this is where connection requests will appear. If somebody sends you a connection request, you can go in here and accept it. Immediately call them in the app. The network diagnostic button shows the network diagnostics, the health of your network connection. And in my case, the health of the connection is really good because I'm on a local network. I've connected this computer, my main one, to my remote computer through a network switch. So my latencycy see is very, very, very low. 1 millisecond round trip time for the HQ audio stream between machines. Now that's the network round trip time. That's not necessarily the actual audio round trip time because buffer size enters into things. CPU overload can slow down the encoding and decoding of audio and video. There's a number of factors that can kind of enter into this. So if you're a little bit concerned about how healthy your network is while you're connected on Sessionwire, just have a look in here. If these values are all green, you're likely good. Typically, if I connect to somebody on the other side of Canada, I'm looking at about 40 milliseconds of round trip time. If I'm connecting to somebody in Australia, I'm looking at maybe 100. When you start using Wi-Fi networks and things instead of Ethernet, though, that's when the round trip time can skyrocket. That wireless transmission of data can add quite a bit of latency to any call, really. So we recommend Ethernet over Wi-Fi all of the time if possible. That's about it for that. We're going to check this out really quick. This button, this phone with a plus sign, this is the Generate Session View link button. So Session View is our URL monitoring feature. If we wanted to tie a third or fourth or fifth person into this call, an active Sessionwire call, I can click this button. It generates a URL that we can send to anybody in the world, and they can join this call from a web browser. Pretty awesome. It's kind of in a beta phase at the moment. We're currently working on a massive update I wish I could tell you about. It's going to change how all of this connection stuff works. And we're very, very excited about it. You'll never have to use Zoom ever again. Let me say that. So if you're excited about that, give me a thumbs up in the comments. That's big changes coming. Let's dive into Digital Performer here. So you'll have to excuse my my lack of shortcut knowledge in Digital Performer. I'm a Pro Tools user. I think Digital Performer is really cool. It just doesn't really work for my workflow, but I've had a chance to kind of mess around with it a little bit. It's very, very powerful, and I can see why a lot of composers use it. Devin, good to see you. This is a first question from Devin here. Does the artist have to load and install Sessionwire and sign up for an account? Do they have to have a DAW and load the send plugin to record vocals back into the host server? So there's 2 or 3 questions in there. So the first one, at the moment, they do have to download and install Sessionwire and sign up for an account. They don't have to pay for the features at the moment. Only one person in an active call needs to pay to have the HQ audio stream, the file transfer system, and auto mute features unlocked for the duration of that call. That may change in the future, so get on it now. I should say that the payment scheme, the payment structure may change in the future. The call situation where you have to have your artist download and install Sessionwire, that will definitely change in the future. That's exactly what we're working on at the moment. Relieving the artist of having to do things, if that makes any sense. Do they have to have a DAW and load the send plugin to record vocals back into the host server? No, they don't. If you were, so for example, we're looking at my Sessionwire app here. I have this microphone plugged into channel 1 of my audio interface. And like I said, any software on a computer will see channels 1 and 2 of any device that you select. So if I select as the HQ audio source on my machine, we're now pretending that I'm the artist for a second. So I'll get rid of Digital Performer. So all of the artists will have open is the Sessionwire app. They'll change their HQ audio source to their audio interface, and immediately we'll see the left side of this HQ audio stream light up. That's because it's seeing channel 1 of my audio interface, this microphone, unprocessed, going straight into Sessionwire and then off to the other side of the Sessionwire connection. So this is what your artist would do. They can listen to the stream you're sending them from the audio interface that they have, and they can send their microphone back to you directly using their audio interface. Now, the tricky part is the latency between both of you will cause their vocal part to come in behind whatever you're streaming them to listen to. So, for example, I'm the producer. I have this Digital Performer session open. I'm streaming my artist this mix that I have set up. Okay, so it's going from me to them. They're hearing it and they're performing it along with it in time. It feels fine to them. It's just like singing along with a 2-track, right? They're streaming only their vocal part back to me into my session. Their vocal part is going to appear to me to be behind my music by however long it takes for the signal to get from me to them and them to me. So the round trip time is how long that vocal part is going to be delayed by in my session. So for that reason, we do recommend that the recording be done on the performing side of the call. What that means is that you'll have them have a DAW open on their machine and be recording into it. And you'll only have the Sessionwire app open to listen to what's happening on their machine. But you can also remote control their computer like it's your own in that situation. So that deals with the whole latency issue. They're recording and performing on their machine. It sounds perfect to them. It sounds in time. It's working just fine. They're streaming you a stereo mix of whatever is happening on their computer through Sessionwire, and it's arriving at you with their vocal part and the 2-track in time. So it seems like everything is perfectly aligned for everybody in that situation. So if you're interested in kind of chatting about that workflow, you can shoot me an email, support@sessionwire.com. More than happy to connect on a call and kind of chat through your workflow, see if that's what you need to do. Obviously for podcasts or voiceover or anything that's not like rigidly tied to a rhythm, recording vocals remotely that way isn't a problem. You know, just having them open Sessionwire and sending their vocal over, that's just fine. It's when you start working with music in regularly timed intervals of things, that's when that latency becomes very apparent. Also, just wanted to touch on server. So the word server, I know this probably isn't the way you meant to use it, but when you're on an active Sessionwire call like this is a peer-to-peer connection. There's no server between my computer and my remote computer over here, or anybody that connects on a peer-to-peer connection in the Sessionwire app. We don't have servers. We don't run your signal or your intellectual property or anything through any kind of server ever on an active Sessionwire connection like this peer-to-peer connection. It's your IP address to the other IP address. Super secure. We don't touch anything. We don't want anything to do with your intellectual property. So if that's something that's a concern to some artists, please tell them that that's not what we do. We're not like Zoom where we have, you know, servers that you have to go through and things like that. We're strictly connecting IP address to IP address, peer-to-peer connection. Hopefully that answers your question, Devin. If not, you know, throw a little comment in there. You didn't answer my question, and we can clarify and kind of go from there. Back to Digital Performer here. So again, apologies for my lack of Digital Performer knowledge. I've just got a little snippet of drums that I recorded earlier. I've been mucking around with a new to me vintage console, so the sounds aren't quite exactly what I'm used to, but that's neither here nor there in this case. So here's the drums. You won't be able to hear anything at the moment because I don't have the Sessionwire plugins in here at all. So I can hear this locally, but you won't be able to hear it. So just for funsies here. Okay, so this is fine. This works for me. You know, if I play it again, you can see all the meters are bouncing. I've got all of my drums here in blue. I've got a drum bus that everything kind of gets funneled down to. I've got a drum compression bus that only the shells are going to, some reverb, a delay, and then the master fader. So this is all kind of like standard Digital Performer routing when you open a Digital Performer stock template. I understand that, you know, your mix sessions may be lots more complicated, and that's fine. The principles are still going to be the same. So we're going to start with streaming audio from my Digital Performer session to somebody on the remote connection. And it's as easy as this. I funnel everything down to this master fader in this session. So I'm going to place the Sessionwire wire send plugin, and I typically choose the VST plugin. I'm going to choose that plugin on my master fader at the end of the effects chain, and now if I hit play, we'll see meters in the master fader, we'll see meters in the send plugin, and we'll see meters in my HQ audio meter, because the HQ audio source is set to the Sessionwire send plugin right now. So here we go. Great. So again, if I have the stream set up properly, you should have been able to hear that. Give me a thumbs up if you did. This is it. I'm streaming my entire mix from Digital Performer to Sessionwire using this one plugin. The plugins are the bridge between the DAW and the Sessionwire app. So really simple. We're going to try to bring audio in to Digital Performer from the remote side now. So this is kind of where things get a little weird, but I'll walk you through some steps here. So I'm going to create a new stereo aux. That's what I'm going to do. And on this aux, I'm going to place the Sessionwire receive plugin. Okay, and again, my, yeah, see, this is where my Digital Performer prowess goes on display, or lack thereof. In menu, floating. Why does it not show me the whole plugin? That's okay. I think it'll still work. We'll still see. Oh, auto. Is it because it doesn't have an input? That might be why. Yes, it is. So you have to have an input on this aux in order for the receive plugin to work. It doesn't matter what the input is. The receive plugin effectively blocks whatever's coming into that channel strip. So now if I change my HQ audio destination in the Sessionwire app, so this is the destination of the audio coming from the app going somewhere on my computer. I'm going to change it to the Sessionwire receive plugin. And if Dan plays the audio, we're going to see the signal here in his HQ meter, here in the receive plugin, and here in Digital Performer. We're also going to hear a problem. So check this out. Okay, who heard that problem? Tell me what it is in the comments. I'm going to forge ahead, but drop in the comments what it was, or what you think it was. Because I'm receiving this audio on this aux from Dan, and the output of this aux is set to main out left right, and this master fader governs main out left right. I'm looping his audio right back to him with the send plugin, causing him to hear a delay. He'll hear his local audio, and he'll hear the audio coming from my machine back to him. That's a problem. So before we forge ahead here, we're going to label this aux Sessionwire receive, just for clarity's sake. And we're going to go into our studio and the bundles, and we're going to create a new pair of outputs. Okay? So I'm going to add a stereo pair of outputs. I'm going to label these. What am I going to label this? Let's just call it main out. No, we're not going to call it main out. Local out. Let's do that. Local out. And I'm going to change the mapping to be the exact same as main out left right. So it's going to be output 1 and 2 of my audio interface. And now if I change the output of this aux with the receive plugin on it to local out, it's going to go straight out of my audio interface and bypass the master fader. So I don't have to worry about looping anything back to Dan. So we'll get Dan to play again. We'll see the signal show up in Sessionwire, in his HQ audio meter. We'll see it show in the receive meter. We'll see it show in Digital Performer, but it won't bounce out back through the master fader this time. I lied. I completely lied. And this is, again, where my prowess is showing. You know what? We're going to change how we're doing things. I'm going to create a new aux track. Same thing. It's going to have an input. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, bear with me for a second here. This is actually what we should be doing. I'm going to create a bus. I'm going to call it mix in big capital letters. So in our bundles, I've created a bus. I'm going to set the input of this new aux I've created to be mix. I'm also going to bounce over to sequence, and I'm going to label it Sessionwire, mix. Mix is what I'm doing. And now I'm going to slide all of my master fader plugins over to this new mix aux. Okay? I can get rid of this master fader now. This master fader it's not really going to do anything for me. So I'm going to delete this master fader. And all of my drums, so all of my drums get funneled down to this drum bus. I'm going to change the output of this drum bus to mix. I'm going to change the output of my drum compression bus to mix, the reverb to mix, anything that I want to go to the remote side of the Sessionwire call is going to go through this actual mix aux, so that if I play this now, and that's one of the downsides to Digital Performer, that we're in contact with Mo2 about some of these little bugs that pop up with Digital Performer and our plugins. Sometimes you'll notice that this pops up. Only one instance of the Sessionwire Send plugin can be used at a time. It appears another instance is already in use. So because I had it on another track already, Sessionwire thinks that there's still another plugin open. Digital Performer hasn't told it that this plugin has been closed. So what we're going to do, we're going to save. I'm just going to restart Digital Performer. Thank you for your patience. Ooh, didn't like that. This is what's tricky about developing plugins for different DAWs. They all kind of behave differently. FL Studio, unbelievable DAW, really cool looking, but accepts sample rates or buffer sizes of any size. 77 samples, 97, 523. That makes it really difficult to develop plugins for, you know, that particular DAW. Okay, here we are back in our session. Oh, I didn't like that either, did it? Try that one more time. Don't let this scare you off of using Digital Performer alongside Sessionwire. This could very likely have to do with my computer. I have lots of different software installed on this particular computer, and sometimes there are conflicts. Okay. This looks promising. So, back to our... Perfect. Okay, we're back. So now I have all of my audio routed to this mix aux. I'm not using a master fader anymore, and to be honest, I don't typically use master faders anyways. I usually step things down through different busing and things like that, all the way to an actual aux that I can print a mix from in the DAW. And obviously that's a more advanced workflow that doesn't have anything to do with Sessionwire really. But in this case, now that we're set up this way, if Dan was to stream me audio, I can set this to go straight out to main out again, and it'll kind of run in parallel with this mix aux. So that audio won't bounce back through the send plugin to Dan. There we go. Okay, so delay issue fixed. This is how I typically do it. I create a mix aux and a Sessionwire receive aux. Anything that I want to send to the remote side goes to the mix aux. Anything that I don't want the other side to receive, I'll send it straight out of my hardware output. So if I didn't want this drum mix to go to the other side, I would set its output to main out. And if I play this again, they'll only get the compression bus and the effects. Probably not very fun to listen to. If I change it back to mix, they'll get the entire drum mix. Right? Ooh, and I'm just having all kinds of issues here today. Gremlins in the Antelope audio here. Okay, so there we go. Sending, receiving audio. The last part we're going to touch on is bringing Talkback audio in and out of Digital Performer. Now, like I said at the beginning of the live stream, what we recommend is not doing that if you don't have to. You set the Talkback stream of the Sessionwire application to 2 devices or 1 device that does both that you know will get audio in and out of the software without having to use our plugins. So in my case, my microphone plugged into channel 1 of my audio interface and my audio interface as the speaker. Simple. Or you could use, again, a simple webcam as the microphone and an audio interface as the speaker. Doesn't matter. Use devices that you know will work. This workflow, bringing Talkback audio in and out of Digital Performer, is useful if you have a microphone plugged into channel 3 and above on an audio interface, or if you need to bus the Talkback audio in and out of headphone cues that you've set up in Digital Performer. And again, that's an advanced workflow. It's not really how a lot of people work, but we'll kind of go through this anyway. So project, add track, add aux track. I'm going to set the input of this aux track to Antelope Record 1, which is channel 1 of my audio interface. And already I can see my voice showing up here, which is good. That means that we'll be able to send the Talkback through Sessionwire successfully. I'll mute that for now. I don't need to hear my voice through Digital Performer. On this new aux that we're going to label Sessionwire Talkback send. Oof. I hate the OCD coming out here. Change the capitals. There we go. So this Sessionwire Talkback send is where I'm going to place the Sessionwire Talkback send plugin. Talkback send right here. Okay, and it pops up and I can see my voice in this plugin, which is good. So if I change this microphone setting of the Sessionwire app to Sessionwire Talkback send plugin, I can now see my voice show up in the app, which means that I'm routing it through Digital Performer into the Sessionwire app. Pretty simple, right? If I wanted to bring somebody else's voice from the remote side into Digital Performer, you can either place the Sessionwire Talkback Receive plugin directly after the Talkback Send plugin, or, as I prefer to do, create another aux, just for organization's sake. Create another aux, set its input to something, it doesn't matter what it is. Insert the Sessionwire Talkback Receive plugin there. Make sure that the output is the main out left and right. And then change the Talkback speaker to the Sessionwire Talkback Receive plugin. So Dan unmutes his Talkback. We'll see his voice show up in the Sessionwire app here, in the Talkback Receive plugin here, and in this new aux that I've just created, which should be labeled Sessionwire Talkback Receive. Okay, so here it comes. Testing. So we can see Dan's voice, my voice, showing up in Digital Performer now, which will allow you to bus it wherever you wanted using sends. If you had headphone cues set up and you wanted to send the incoming Talkback audio, a producer or an exec or something to somebody else, you can route that in Digital Performer now. So there you go. Pretty straightforward. There's one thing that I wanted to touch on that's pretty cool. When you're working, when I remotely track drums for people, I will use the Talkback Auto Mute feature in the Sessionwire app. So if we go in here and look at these switches for Talkback Auto Mute, I can select on playback or record in my DAW to mute my Talkback automatically or mute the remote Talkback coming to me automatically, or both. So if I turn these on and I hit play in Digital Performer, we'll see my Talkback button right here. We'll see it go red. It'll mute, and this meter will stop moving. So here we go. Check. Right. So there you go. No Talkback while I'm performing, which is great because, when I play the drums, I don't want the drums going through the Talkback microphone to the other side. It'll blow whoever's listening away. It'd be way too loud and aggressive. So really cool little feature. The incoming Talkback audio would also be muted so that they couldn't distract me while I'm doing a take. They'll just have to like wave or use the nonverbal communication, the emojis. So there you have it. That's getting set up with Digital Performer and Sessionwire. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I'll be watching for the rest of the day. Please head to www.sessionwire.com. Sign up for a free account. Have a look at everything. Install the app. Send us an email, support@sessionwire.com, if you have questions or if you want to set up a little demo. More than happy to do that. Also, until the end of the day, shoot me an email, support@sessionwire.com. I'll send you a code back for 20% off your first year of an annual subscription. And that's only until 11:59 p.m. tonight, April 13th, 2022. So thanks very much for joining the stream. We'll hopefully see you at the next one. We're doing Bitwig Studio next week. Should be very interesting. I'll do my best to learn some keyboard shortcuts for that one, and hope you enjoyed. Take care, everyone.